Fight the power. Fight the power. We got to fight the powers that be. Algorithms designed to bounce with Nelson.
Beginning to turn. We do know so far is that Mr. McClain was in possession of the handgun, did have it in his waistband before he took it out. He did begin to run from the officers holding that weapon, and at one point began to turn to look at the officer behind him. So the rumors of there being a no gun on the individual is completely false. Unfortunately for the community, the wrong message has gotten out. In some way, we need to shift the criticism back to the chief of police in our department to ensure we're talking about whether we should have shot an armed person during a foot pursuit or not, and not whether he was armed, nor was there several shots to the back, or whether he was laying on the ground. Now, just to say it, some may not believe it, so therefore, over the next 48 hours, we will release our critical incident video. We hope it's in 24 hours, which would be a quick release with the redacting that we must do. So that'll be part of what we want to do to get the information out.
The shooting is unjustified, but it certainly seems a far-fetched to believe he had this gun. When you looking at this video, you seeing all these people. Nobody sees the gun, not even the officer chasing him alleges that he saw him throw a gun. But then the 7th officer on the scene here comes up and he miraculously finds a gun that all these people who are around didn't see. You look at it for yourself. That's what we're saying.
Looking at the video that Pasadena Police provided to the public to justify their version, as soon as Anthony started to run, the officer went like this with his hand on his gun. What does that tell you?
He was about to shoot first and ask questions later. He was going to shoot first and ask questions later. It was intended, and sometimes, most of the time, these officers know the person they're targeting. Sometimes it's an orchestrated hit. Okay? So that's all I'm able to say about that right now, so I'm able to word it differently because I know a little bit extra stuff. But sometimes they go after people because it's a hit. You know, and they a hit squad. You got Officer Matthew Griffin, who was part of the Kendrick McDade murder, but he's also a part of Reginald J.R. Thomas's murder. So why are we going to keep letting this man patrol our community? He has 2 murders under his belt.
And for those viewers who hear what Jasmine is saying, we had Kendrick McDade, 19-year-old. He was shot and killed by the Pasadena Police.
Matthew Griffin and Jeffrey Newland.
And then in 2017, we lost Reginald Thomas he wasn't shot, but he was killed by the Pasadena Police.
He was choked. He was hogtied, he was beaten, he was spit on in front of his 6 children.
And none of these officers were terminated?
Nope.
None of them were prosecuted?
Nope.
None of them were, to my knowledge, even were they suspended for any?
Nope.
So, with this particular case involving Anthony McClain, it gives the viewers, the community, and it makes the city now be put right in the spot of being accountable because we got video. And we got video from the very inception at the point where they were stopped moving forward. And because now we have a conflict with their story, which one is the right one? The video or their story?
The video. And we also know that Chief Perez, if somebody was harboring a fugitive, they would be prosecuted too, right? And now Chief Perez is harboring a fugitive. They are hiding evidence, right? All those are crimes. So with those being said, that's why we want him fired and prosecuted as well. We're asking people to sign that petition.
All right. And with that being said, this is Alan Shea signing off with Jasmine. I want to thank you. Can I get a hug for you?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And this is what community is all about. And hopefully you folks who are watching this enjoy today's show and certainly became educated about the process, because when you only see one side of it, trust me, it's easy to be influenced or persuaded by what you heard. But today you got both sides, so thank you. All right.
also believe that Chief John Perez must be fired, not just should be fired, but he must be fired. And I believe that because of the conspiracy since day one that he's been pushing to push a false narrative that falsely criminalizes Anthony McClain when we all know that Anthony McClain was the victim of his death. And and I also believe that City Manager Steve Mermel must also be fired for his co-conspiracy in pushing that false narrative and defending that false narrative alongside Chief Perez when we know that they had access to the raw footage. Black Lives Matter Pasadena was making demands to release the raw footage. They did not. They chose to release a heavily edited version, and because of that choice, both men need to be fired.
So the officer fired likely because he was worried the individual was probably going to turn to fire at him. We are part of what has occurred. We were the officers that shot that bullet that took their son's life. We are responsible and accountable for that event that happened.